Excellent, the online delivery I ordered 3 days ago is about to arrive. Maybe I should have ordered some wipes as well. Sometimes you really do need things delivered in a hurry, and this week on Click, we'll look at the online shopping service that speeds to your door within the hour. Remember these? Well, they're back. It's time to don those goggles and the shoes as we check out virtual reality reversioned. That plus the latest tech news and in Webscape, a way to show off those embarrassing photos and not have them follow you around for the rest of your life. Welcome to Click, I'm Spencer Kelly. Crowdsourcing is a phrase we've come to know quite well on this programme. The idea is simple. You combine lots of small individual contributions from the online crowd to, well, source whatever you want. Sometimes the crowd is a source of money, sometimes it's a workforce at your service. Richard Taylor has been looking at the latest venture coming out of Silicon Valley, which aims to use the crowd to do your shopping.
Empty again. Problem is, I've got a little soiree, a business dinner with some very important California contacts in just 2 hours' time, and I've barely a scrap of organically grown, locally sourced, GM-free produce to feed them. Now, I could go down to the local supermarket, but hey, I've got better things to do, like living the California dream. So what are my options? Well, here on the West Coast, a clutch of online services is promising express deliveries to my door. The idea is nothing new. A decade ago, Webvan sank an eye-watering $1 billion into infrastructure for its 1 hour service. It crashed spectacularly before being gobbled up by Amazon. Today, the e-tail giant has its eyes on groceries too, ramping up same-day deliveries from warehouses. As it does, though, it faces a fresh wave of competition from rivals with different business ideas. eBay is forging retail partnerships for 1 hour delivery of a wide range of goods. And other more nimble outfits still are pushing the idea further. Not just outsourcing, but crowdsourcing too. With $10 million in backing, but no big store relationships, inventory or infrastructure, Silicon Valley startup Instacart is connecting smartphone-savvy customers with a casual crowdsourced workforce.
Crowdsourcing is one of the fundamental differences between Instacart and what's been tried before. So we are not dumping a lot of money building warehouses and inventory and buying trucks and all that. We don't need to do that because we let the stores be the inventory and be the warehouses, and they're good at it.
Once you've signed up, you can choose from any of 30,000 items sold at 4 major supermarket chains. An hour later, a personal shopper from each turns up on your doorstep.
I'll be sent to a location, for instance, one of the stores that we work for, and I'll be waiting for a batch in my car. I'll get a text stream that prompts me to launch the app, and at that point I will receive the order and see what I need to shop for. The app is amazing in how intuitive it really is. I mean, it's been designed so that products are located aisle by aisle, so I know exactly where to go.
There's a minimum $35 spend per store, a $15 delivery charge, and digging deep into the FAQs on Instacart's website, I find out prices could differ from those in store. Guess I'm about to find out. Order placed. Good, well I think that should be enough to impress my dinner guests. Pretty healthy it is too, much like the rest of my California lifestyle. Talking of which, that has just bought me an extra hour while my personal shopper fights her way through the aisles.
Okay, we'll hit spices and then I'll head over there. Okay, that's good. We're going with a fine Behringer. I found one. I'm coming with my own glass. Aisle 12, we're going frozen. We can't cook, so we're gonna buy it. All right, great.
Slide in, rotate that foot, offset the body.
Still on 14, 2 of those, fat-free. I found both of those. Okay, so 14, that's always the butter, eggs, and cheese. Hi, this is Linda with Instacart. I'm here with your delivery.
Linda, welcome.
Thank you. Here are your groceries.
Thank you. 48 minutes. Impressive.
Thank you.
So, efficient service, but at a price. My bill was 8% higher than had I chosen to shop for myself. And on other shopping expeditions, I found significant markups on most products, and that in-store specials went largely unreflected in Instacart's pricing as well. Of course, the company needs to turn a profit, but shouldn't it be more transparent about price differentials?
Customers don't like to pay additional fees. And as long as the fees are baked into the items themselves, customers don't necessarily have a problem paying the additional amount. But if you charge
maybe
them
that's because they're not aware of exactly how much it is extra that they're paying. If they knew they were paying 20% more, they may have a problem.
Right, it is fully possible, but until now, in the last 2 months, 1.1% of the households in San Francisco have used Instacart. For the last 4 weeks, we've been growing at 10% week over week in terms of number of deliveries.
That might be true, but experts say in the end, grocery shoppers may rebel against that kind of pricing.
Groceries are typically a very low margin industry where lots of customers are price sensitive, and when it becomes clear that they're paying much more than the few dollars for delivery, then they'll start to reevaluate, or many people anyway will.
So the produce items will be the first things listed on this master grocery list here. It will be.
So what of the customer service from a crowdsourced labour force? Well, all potential shoppers are given some basic training after first being screened for clean backgrounds. They gen up on the do's and don'ts of wise grocery shopping. But is it enough to build a strong customer-focused workforce?
Amazon takes pride that they're going to have labeled trucks and they're going to have workers in uniforms, and that these people represent the company in the same way that UPS workers, for example, have uniforms that everybody recognizes and trusts. And it's going to be difficult to maintain that when you have a huge distributed set of workers that are only working occasionally for you.
So for example,
there's no denying Instacart is using technology very cleverly to maximize productivity. Now, shoppers get reliability ratings. Those with the best get the plum shifts, apparently earning around $17 an hour. Their productivity can be carefully tracked, quite literally, with management seeing their location in real time.
We have to predict the future in terms of how long it's going to take to pick any individual item. How long is it going to take to deliver an individual item, given that there's rain today, as well it's a Thursday afternoon and there's a Giants game.
Instacart has already spawned clones, London-based Pocket Shop, aping its business model. But here in the US at least, the idea of a 1-hour grocery service is clearly enough to whet the appetite of some time-starved individuals. Whether it really delivers, well, that's for others to decide.
Richard Taylor on a 2.0 trolley dash. Well, as I said, there seems to be an awful lot of crowdsourcing going on these days, so much so that it's led us to ask, is it a fad or is it here to stay? Well, Emily Mackay is the founder of Crowdsurfer, a website which helps people to find and understand crowdfunding projects. Emily, hi.
Hi.
So, is it a fad or is it here to stay?
I think fundamentally it's here to stay. There's a huge amount happening, and the reason for that is because it solves an economic problem. People are finding it hard to find funding for their businesses, for their products, so crowdfunding, crowdsourcing can fill that gap for them.
So a couple of weeks ago we were talking about crowdsourcing charity donations. Now we're talking about crowdsourcing personal shoppers, if you like. In your experience, are there certain things that do work and certain things that definitely don't work in a crowd capacity?
Well, what we know does work is funding for young businesses, for products and gadgets, for philanthropy. When it gets into the more personal space of babysitting or car sharing or shopping, we've yet to see whether people really trust the systems enough to let them into their personal space.
When different industries have gone online, gone digital, for example the music industry, there's a little bit of disruption at the beginning, and then I think it's generally accepted the big existing corporations get a handle on it and start to control that industry again. Do you think there's a danger that crowdsourcing in a few years could be controlled by the same organisations that are trying to raise money at the moment, not just charities but large corporations?
I think we've yet to see large corporations really get excited about crowdfunding, but we know they're watching it. Whether they'll actually move into this area or not is yet to be seen. I don't think it would necessarily be a bad thing. They've certainly got the resources there to make it a real success, but I think the jury's out on that at the moment.
I'm sure one of the concerns that people have if they're getting interested in the whole crowdsourcing, crowdfunding idea is if it all goes wrong, what comeback do I have? Can someone just run off with my money? Can someone buy substandard goods and deliver them to my house and I'd have absolutely no comeback at all?
That's the same question you might ask yourself if you go onto any online shopping site.
But they generally do have an address or some focal point that you can go and shout at. Whether they respond is another matter. This is just a group of people that could disappear back into the shadows as soon as they've delivered your shopping.
Well, good projects and certainly good platforms will always have their details available, so you know exactly who you're dealing with. And that's something consumers should be looking out for.
Okay, Emily, thanks very much for your time. Now, as we've seen, one form of crowdsourcing is crowd working, which is basically picking up any kind of work from any employer anywhere on the web. And we wondered if this is actually becoming a viable way to work. In fact, we wondered if it's possible to earn a decent living by being a full-time crowd worker. Next week, we're going to find out. Everybody meet LJ Rich. LJ Rich, everybody.
Hello.
Got any plans for next week, LJ?
No.
Well, you do now. We would like you to become Click's full-time crowd worker. Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 for 1 week. We'd like you to see how much money you can earn by crowd working at your desk. Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, always up for a challenge. That's brilliant. And if you have any suggestions for crowd working sites that you'd like LJ to go to, then please feel free to tweet them to @BBC Click. Good luck.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week to find out how she gets on. Next up, a look at this week's tech news. The New York Times has been forced to break its news over Facebook after a cyber attack knocked its website offline. The Syrian Electronic Army, who claimed responsibility for the attack, took control of the site's domain name, redirecting it instead to their own website. The group also gained access to a Twitter domain responsible for loading images. This comes in the same week that China suffered what it claimed was the biggest ever attack of its type against the country. The attack targeted servers responsible for the Chinese .cn domain and, according to some analysts, at its peak caused traffic to drop to 2/3 of normal levels. 79% of malicious attacks on mobiles last year were against those running Google's Android operating system. That's according to an FBI memo which was circulated among police forces in the US and then published online. Nokia's Symbian system, which runs on the Finnish company's basic feature handsets, suffered the second highest number of attacks, while Apple's iOS accounted for just 1% of the total. And self-driving cars could finally be a reality by 2020, if Nissan has its way. The Japanese motor manufacturer is already testing a self-driving version of its electric car, the Leaf. The autonomous automobile is fitted with a 360-degree camera rig, distance sensing lasers, and a very high-end computer running artificial intelligence software. The self-driving market could become crowded, though. The US military, General Motors, and Google are also scrambling to perfect vehicles which can drive themselves. Virtual reality. 2 words that said the future in the 1980s. The idea of putting on a massive headset to allow you to explore a computer-generated landscape was really huge for about a year. But just like platform shoes and kipper ties, these things do have a habit of coming back into fashion, as Mark Cieslak will now stylishly demonstrate.
The virtual reality headset never did really take off in the way that 20th century technology pundits thought it might. But they say fashions are cyclical, with particular styles of clothing falling into and out of favour with style-conscious types.
Now, by looking through that window, you're able to see into the world of the computer. And by wearing the helmet, you're able to see it in 3D.
The Oculus Rift is a 21st century take on the virtual reality headset. Like almost every new bit of kit these days, the cost of its development has been helped by crowdfunding website Kickstarter. The headset is designed to work with computers or video games consoles, with existing games requiring a small amount of programming tweaking to make them work with the headset. Inside the device itself is a screen and these stereoscopic lenses which provide an image for each of the wearer's eyes. Now, like virtual reality headsets of old, wherever the wearer moves their head, the image that they're looking at moves accordingly, convincingly creating the illusion that you're inside a three-dimensional space. Under the Rift's skin are a number of different sensors, in fact the kind of motion sensors that you find inside a mobile phone. Now when all of the data from these is combined, it allows the device and your computer to know where you're looking inside a virtual 3D space. This is the developer kit and not the finished product. Its creators have recently launched a version of the dev kit which is HD, so the graphics that version produces are much higher resolution than the ones we're seeing here. The kit itself has created something of a buzz in the games development community, with a number of high-profile games figures lending it their support, not least John Carmack, the creator of the original Doom, who's recently joined the Oculus Rift team as its Chief Technology Officer.
Developers are some of the people that are most excited about the Rift. I mean, we've sold tons of developer kits because these people who spend years of their lives building very, very high-end virtual environments, they're the people who really want to step inside of them and see, what you can do with the work that they've done.
The demos that I'm playing here really just scratch the surface of the potential of the Rift. Potential which is being realised by some pretty inventive developers who are combining this headset and other equipment and peripherals with some surprising results. Canadian digital design outfit Globacore have combined an Oculus, a Microsoft Kinect and an exercise bike, along with some nifty coding on their part, and created a retro-flavoured 3D version of 80s arcade classic Paperboy. Their version, Paper Dude VR. The Oculus handles the visuals, the Kinect monitors and converts the player's body movements into newspaper throwing gameplay, and the bike, well, every Paperboy needs a set of wheels. Another device which uses the player's own movements and the Oculus to create a convincing virtual world is the Omni. Also a device funded via Kickstarter by Texan developers Vertix. When combined with an Oculus headset, its user can control their movement in the virtual space by walking or running on the Omni platform. Like the headset, commercial video games require a small amount of coding to make them compatible with the kit. The user wears a pair of specially adapted shoes, which are fitted with sensors which help track the wearer's motion. The platform the player stands on doesn't itself contain any electronics. It's designed simply to promote a natural gait or more normal walking or running stance. Both the Oculus and the Omni have some pretty talented third-party and established developers adapting their own games, software and environments for use with the kit. None more so than NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, who've taken real data from the Curiosity Mars rover and created a version of the red planet that Earth-bound virtual explorers can stroll across. While there are many trends and fashions from the late 20th century which I'm happy to see remain in the past, as far as virtual reality is concerned, on this evidence, maybe we should give it a second chance.
Mark Cieslak, looking good. Now, one of the problems with posting photos of yourself online is that they stay there, haunting you forever. It's a good job the web wasn't around when I looked like this, otherwise millions of people would be able to see it. But there is a relatively new social craze which makes the images that you share online temporary. The question is it as safe as it sounds? Kate Russell investigates.
People love to share photos of special moments online. What isn't so special is coming across them later and wishing you hadn't. Snapchat is a fun free app for iPhone and Android where users privately share photos and video that can only be viewed once and disappears after a few seconds. So you can share your enthusiasm for life without it coming back to haunt you.
This trend is booming right now, with Snapchat already accounting for more monthly shares than Instagram. Do remember though that screenshots can still be taken of anything you share. Snapchat should warn you if this happens, but if someone snaps a photograph of anything you share with another device, for example, it will be out of your control without you knowing. So in short, never share anything online that you wouldn't be happy for your mum to see.
Another similar service recently launched is Secret.li, an Apple app designed for private sharing with Facebook friends. It lets you protect images with an encrypted filter so they can't be seen on your phone or online by anyone you haven't chosen to share them with. You also get to choose a time limit, perhaps an hour, a day, or even a month, after which time the image self-destructs. You might think that Twitter is a pretty disposable format too, but Visify turns your interactions into a fun little movie with the minimum effort or fuss from you.
I know all you tweeters are going to love this app as it delves back into your history to reveal golden social moments that you might well have forgotten about, repackaging your content into something far more enjoyable than just a string of 140 characters.
You can tweak the content and add extra scenes, then tweet to share. The whole thing is brilliantly simple. Once done, you're invited to connect more social accounts, including LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Foursquare, to build an animated infographic of your social footprint. I found another simple animation tool that's loads of fun, Crazy Talk. It lets you record or upload a voice track and then choose or make a character to have it automatically lip-synced, complete with facial expressions and gestures.
You never know, one day they might do away with the need for presenters completely.
Excuse me?
What?
The cheek of it.
I'm only saying the truth.
There's a huge range of characters and backdrops, or you can upload your own background image to work with. You could use this to make a unique invitation to a party, or perhaps send a birthday message to a distant relative. It couldn't be easier to master, so you really won't have any trouble experimenting.
The full desktop version on PC or Mac can be downloaded to try free for 15 days. There's also a free iOS app with limited characters and options unless you upgrade. It's a fun way to share messages through the usual channels.
Well, hello there, Webscape viewers. How are you?
According to the UN, traffic fatalities are increasing in the developing world at such an alarming rate they could soon outstrip AIDS, HIV and malaria as one of the leading causes of death. The problem is highlighted through an interactive map at roadskillmap.com, laying out these grisly statistics so that there can be no doubt that the roads can be a deadly place if you don't take proper care. Fancy a free gig with Elton John, Justin Timberlake or Lady Gaga? The iTunes Festival runs throughout September with a free performance from some of the biggest names in the music industry every night of the month. UK residents can apply for a chance to win tickets through the free app. For the rest of the world, there is live streaming content to enjoy, which will be available to watch after the event too.
Thank you, Kate. Kate Russell's Webscape, and those links are up at our website if you missed them, along with reports from this week's and previous week's programmes too. bbc.co.uk/click is the address you need. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, you can. The email address click@bbc.co.uk. You'll also find us on Google+, Facebook and Twitter too. And that is where you'll find regular updates from LJ on how she's doing on her week of crowd working, @BBC Click, the Twitter address. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.